Let us begin. Good morning. Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast on the Class. Breakfast on the Class today is dedicated for the continued health of Rabbani Chana Farchi, Chana Bat Simafega. A week of Breakfast on the Class is dedicated for the safe return and success of all of our Chayalim, defending our land and our people. As well, the week of Breakfast on the Class is dedicated in loving memory of Jack Laboz, Lidun Ishmael Haim Yaakov Ben Mazal, sponsored by his son Albert Laboz, and dedicated for the speedy and complete Refuah Shlema for Rabbi Eli Abadi, Eliyahu Shimon Ben Mazal Fortuné. The week of Kobru is sponsored by David Yash in honor of you and your extra special capacity to do good today and every day, when Am Yisrael requires each and every mitzvah, each and every tefillah, to be able to see the Yeshuah, the Nehama, the Refuah, the Vishavu Banim Legvulam that we're all so desperately hoping for. My friends, I just want to reiterate before we begin, there are different ways a person can get involved. Way number one from here is we have a program called Mitzvah for Israel. Everyone, you sign up, you take on a mitzvah, you say how many days you're going to do it for. We have, my friends, almost already taken on 18,000 mitzvot. Wow. Rabotai, every person here who listens to this clip, every person should sign up. It costs nothing. We'll post the link over here in the WhatsApp group. The link is, I think it's ejsny.org/mitzvah for Israel. Okay? That's the link, but we'll post it as well. The second thing a person can do besides for just signing up to do a mitzvah is to sign up to help fund and to help give charity towards this incredible endeavor, this all the needs of Am Yisrael that are in this difficult time, and that is ejsny.org/Israel Emergency Fund. The third thing is tonight we are having a gathering of tefillah, of Torah, where we're going to have myself, Rabbi Mizrahi, and Rabbi Abragamov speak on the current situation to learn some Torah, some words of inspiration, 7:15 till 8 o'clock sharp. At 8 o'clock sharp, we're going to be having silichot and tefillah. We're going to be and tehillim. The program will end with a couple songs that we're going to sing together as a group to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That should be finished promptly by 9 p.m. sharp. So the program's going to be 7:15 till 9 p.m. Praying, studying for Torah. We have sponsors for $111 for each person that signs up and comes. We're going to pack out the synagogue. I looked at at the calendar, at the thing just now. We are now at 411 people who have signed up to come tonight for the Beit Knesset. That is more than the capacity of the synagogue. We're going to open up the porch and put seats on the porch. We'll get as many people as we can in here. We have sponsorships for $111 for up to 366 people so far. So anything over that, we need sponsorships to sponsor each per person of $111. Chazak Baruch Emmanuel, Chazak Baruch Manny Haber, Chazak Baruch Hayim Daba, and Chazak Baruch Stanley Chira for sponsoring this wonderful initiative, which is a combination of tzedakah, mitzvah, tefillah, and Torah. Those are all things that you could do in order to get involved. Last but not least, Rabotai, there's a beautiful initiative taking tehillim for a soldier. You get one soldier's name and you say tehillim for that soldier. I believe it's a program being run by NCSY. Very, very special. Hazaku Baruch. Okay, let's begin. My friends, I want to share with you something that I think is an incredible source of inspiration. Let's take a look at a very interesting teaching. The pasuk says, "Vayikach lo lemech shte nashim," and Lemech took for himself 2 wives. Who are the 2 wives of Lemech? Shem ha'ahat Ada. One of them was Ada, okay, and the second one was called Tzila. The first one was called Ada. The second one was called Tzila. Now, Rashi tells us something super interesting. Rashi tells us that one of the wives, and this was actually a fairly common practice, one of the wives Lemech took was for Piriyah, was to have children with. The other wife was not taken to have children with. She was taken, he didn't want her to gain weight, to have this, to have that, I don't know what he didn't want. So he decided that wife is not going to be for having children. And this actually happened in numerous places. Where else do we find this idea of people not wanting their wife to get pregnant, they keep them only for relations, by Tamar. Excellent, by Tamar. And that was considered to be an evil thing, a wicked thing, and that's why we find that the first two sons of Yehuda pass away from what they're doing in order to ensure that she doesn't have children. But Lamech's approach, listen closely to the words of Rashi. Rashi tells us, Achati lakach lepirya v'rivya, right? And the second one he took not for having children. What did he do? Mashke ota koshel akarim. He gives her a cup of a certain, out of some form of a poison or whatever, that made a woman, rendered her unable to have children. Completely infertile forever. That was what he gave to his wife, Tzila. Now, you read this pasuk in the Beresheet, and you think to yourself, okay, whatever. Interesting pasuk. Is this important? Lemech, 2 wives. We need to know if she's having the morning after, the morning before pill. Who cares? And why is this such a relevant pasuk to tell us? I want to share with you something from Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky that blew my mind. If I ask you, who is the mother of every living being that ever lived? Your immediate answer would be Chava. In fact, what is Chava's name based on? He didn't name her after his mother-in-law. He didn't name her after his mother. Who is Chava? Vihi ki hi hayeta em kochai, because she was the mother of every living being. Once you have a branch off at that point, Chalas, now no one can claim that crown anymore, that they're the mother of every living being. Says Rav Galinsky, but that's not true. In fact, there is another woman who was also Em Kol Chaim. What was her name? Her name was Naamah. Naamah was the wife of Noach. Now, every one of Noach's children was from Naamah. The daughters-in-law who came on the boat are not Naamah's children, but they're dead. So from that point on, every living being in this world, every child that was born comes from Naamah. Do you understand that? Now the mothers of those daughters-in-law also can't claim it because they're 3 different ladies. So there's another woman in the history of the world that every living being came from, Naamah. Yani, if we all did 23 and me, and they were able to trace it far back enough, we'd be able to find a common matriarch on every human being that's on the planet, every human being that ever will be on the planet. Ready for this? Says Rav Galinsky, but who's Naamah's mother? Tzila. One more time. Who's Naamah, the mother of every living being? Who's her mother? Tzila. He tried to be able to give her koshel akarim. There's a time when a person is taking some form of a birth control, and it says on the box 99.9999999%. There's a 0.00001 whatever percent that they might actually have a child. So she was the person on the box of the koshel akarim that says maybe. The child she has is Naamah, and the child that she has, the child that's a mistake, the child that you tried to prevent becomes Em Kol Chai. My friends, it is not only our successes that lead to successes, but sometimes it is our failures and our mistakes that lead us to wild successes. And the child that was not even supposed to be, Even Masu Aborim, Aben Shasu, right? Not just the stone, but the child, Shema'asu Abonim, that the builders cast aside. Haital Rosh Pinah became the cornerstone, the foundation stone of the whole building. You know, human beings, we're obsessed with finding mistakes, usually of others. Usually that's when we're good, that's when we enjoy it. We don't enjoy it so much finding our own mistakes, but we obsess over mistakes. We maybe don't publicize our mistakes, but we dwell on our mistakes. We think upon them. We torment ourselves of what we shouldn't have done, what we couldn't have done, it's a difficult thing. I keep saying that during this time, I feel incredibly guilty. I feel guilty for every minute that I'm not doing something. And whatever you achieve and whatever you get done, I feel like, and what if I would not have spent 20 more seconds asleep or eating or doing this? I could have made another phone call. I could have raised some more money. We could have bought another vest. We could have got somebody, something that they need, another pair of tzitzit, another mitzvah, another class of Torah, right? I feel guilty. I feel like I need to. I think there's certain elements that are healthy, but there's certain elements that are not healthy. There's elements that push you to do more, and there's elements that push you to retreat more into your shell. Some things cause you to overachieve. Some things cause you to stop being able to function. You made a mistake. You're tormenting yourself for it. You're telling yourself you're such a terrible person for it. What happens from that? Do you do less or more? And the crazy thing about mistakes is that sometimes the greatest mistake of a mistake is not the mistake. It's the harping on how big of a mistake it was that causes you to make far greater mistakes. Imagine a child, a parent tries to get close to their kid, tries to love their child, and the parent feels like the child took advantage of that closeness. Now they don't treat them with respect. So they think that that's a mistake. So they change their mode of parenting to being cold, authoritarian, right? Disciplinarian. Maybe you made a mistake with the first one in the balance, but I'll tell you, greater is the mistake of your attempt to fix that mistake than the mistake itself. There's a line that I'm very fond of repeating, because it's one that I think would change people for the better if they heard it. We are obsessed with making the right decisions. We are too obsessed with making the right decisions and not obsessed enough with making decisions right. We're agonized. I get it. What should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? You ask everyone. You're researching. You're trying to figure it out. Okay, you did all that research, and now you made the mistake. So we live with this idea that the mistake is a static thing. It cannot be changed. It's not true. As Jews, we believe that you can turn everything around. There were mistakes made in Israel that allowed for a terrible massacre. But what we learn from those mistakes, over time, will wind up saving more lives than have died today. That's what it means to not dwell on a mistake and live with it and say to ourselves, you know what? It's inevitable. Terrorism is inevitable. We should just throw our hands up. We should negotiate with them. We should do everything. You understand? That, my friends, is the power of being able to decide to make a decision, not to live with the mistake as it is, but to attempt to turn it into something beautiful. You didn't go to praying enough. You could sit back and say, I'm such a terrible person. It bugs me so much. People will come to me on Yom Kippur. Rabbi, I feel so bad. I'm here on Yom Kippur. I don't come to shul enough. I'm a bad Jew. I feel like telling them that's not what a bad Jew is. It's not what a bad Jew is. A bad Jew is not somebody who doesn't do what they should. That's a Jew who could do better, who could become more. That's not a bad Jew, my friends. If anything, what I would say is a bad Jew is someone who allows their mistakes to perpetually keep them where they are. Because if the idea of a Jew is that you're constantly growing, think of this idea. We are named Am Yisrael. And what is the term Yisrael? Where does it come from? When Yaakov Avinu was fighting with the Malach, he's fighting and fighting and fighting. And in the morning he's given the name Ki sarita im Elokim ve'adam, because you fought with godly power, with a divine power. You fought with an angel and with a man, vatuchal, and you overcame and you won. That's why Yaakov Avinu was called the name Yisrael, because he was able to overcome. He was able to overcome unbelievable odds, unbelievable strength. The strength, so to speak, of gods and men. That's Yitzaritim Elokim va'adam. Now again, there are no other gods. So what does it mean? He's able to overcome. It means a supernatural power. He was able to fight with an angel. My friends, I want to ask you the most obvious question in the world. Have you read the actual story of Yaakov fighting with the angel? I don't know if you guys are fans of boxing. I'm not. I don't quite love it. And I don't feel, it doesn't resonate with me that we take two people, stick them into a ring, have them beat the living daylights out of each other, and we should all cheer. I think it's a relic of the ancient gladiatorial fights where everyone was enjoying humans inflicting, wounds and eventually death upon each other for people's entertainment. It's not my thing. But in boxing, the way it works is that you could either win by knocking someone out, or you win by points. TKO is also knocking someone out. Points is nobody won. Who got in more jabs? Well, we know that the Malach and Yaakov Avinu are fighting the whole night, right? That we know. At the end of the fight, has Yaakov won the fight? No. Has the angel won the fight? No. So when the two fighters are standing there and the referee's in the middle, whose hand should he have raised? You'd think both, except again, you didn't read the pasuk. Because if you could win, not only by knocking someone out, but you could win by points. The only one that struck a blow in that fight was who? The angel. So by what metric has Yaakov won this fight? That we're calling him Yisrael.
By virtue of not getting knocked out.
By virtue of not getting knocked out. By the fact that he didn't give up. By
achieving more of his potential.
Achieving more of his potential. Beautiful answers. I want to leave the end of this sentence like a Mad Lib, for those of us who remember what those are. I want to leave the end of this sentence for you to complete. But one thing I will tell you is that it is clear that the idea of sarita does not only mean that you overpowered, but that you stayed in the fight. That's clear. And Yaakov Avinu is still struggling with the angel in the morning light. And the angel says, let me go. And Yaakov, even though the guy wants to go, still hasn't let go. Winning in Judaism is not winning. Winning is staying in the fight. You have so many people right now who are upset, who are depressed, who are sitting there watching the news on repeat. I'm a rabbi. By the power vested in me by the state of New Jersey and the state of New York, I hereby grant you permission to turn your phone off. I grant you permission. You have people who are in a comatose state right now. And I don't mean the ones that are actually in comas. I mean the ones that are perpetually scrolling, trying to find the one video they didn't see yet. There's no mitzvah in the Torah that says, Ata chayav lerot et kol ha-videos. There's no mitzvah that says it. There's no mitzvah that says, the best citizen of Israel is the one that sees all the posts. Lo ein kaze davar. So ask yourself, where's this coming from? What are you achieving? You trying to find more control over the situation? You're not going to find it. You're trying to understand, fathom what's going on over here? You're not going to get it. Your mind doesn't work the way a psychotic animal's mind works. You will not understand it. You will not get closure. So what are you doing? I hereby grant you permission. A mother sent me a message yesterday from Israel after watching a video that I posted, ironically. I even grant you permission not to watch all of my videos. There you go. You're allowed to take a break. You're allowed to live life. She said that she turned her phone off and she was playing with her children and she felt guilty. You know what? Because she wasn't engaged in full-time crying and scrolling. That's not. Now again, there's a need for us to know what's going on. There was a great rabbi who used to read every day the headline of the newspaper, not the article. A lot of times it's enough to read the headlines. Right? You know, this one attacked this one. This one is now, tax break for, etc. Couples. New York City has a rat problem, human and otherwise, etc. So the Nikudah, my friends, is that when we experience a mistake, a setback, something that's hurt us, we can wallow in that, or we can rise from it and become more because of it. Become stronger because of it. Become more connected in our tefillah, in our Torah, because of it. I'm asking you which one you want to be. The greatest mistake, the mistake of tzilah and lemech, results in so much life that it results in all of the life of this planet. And I want to ask you, maybe there's a mistake in your past. Maybe there's a mistake in your past that will become the catalyst for so much life in the future that you cannot believe. Sometimes a person goes through something that's really painful because they made a mistake, or they didn't see the signs, or they didn't notice, or they didn't realize, and something happens. Parents who experience a loss of a child, who then set up and figure out. There's a set of parents that I know who are dealing with a certain problem with their child, and they're going through the process of the genetic testing and sequencing to be able to figure out exactly how you can tell what's wrong with the child, so you'd be able to diagnose it immediately, and how to protect couples from being able to have such a child that's sick, that's having such issues. They don't need to do this. Their kid's already here. But what burns inside them is a desire that the pain that I'm feeling, no one else should feel. We have a modern day version of this tzilah mistake. I use the word mistake here in a metaphoric term. I believe this couple is somewhat well known. Their names are Shlomo and Chana Bachner. Shlomo and Chana Bachner tried very, very, very long time with every possible means at their disposal, medically, physically, otherwise, to be able to have children. They were unable to have children. The doctor finally told them, after trying everything, there's nothing else to try. There are no other options. You will never have children. So they're driving back quietly in the car. You can imagine the car ride. And Chana Bachner says to her husband, she says, Shlomo, we're going to have many children. And he says to his wife, did you not hear what the doctor said? And the wife says, I didn't say that they would be ours. Shlomo and Chana Bachner started an organization called Bonei Olam, which is now responsible for the birth of over 11,000 babies. That's a tzilah moment right there. That's a mistake. That's a didn't have that creates a much bigger did have. So my friends, what if we looked at the mistakes and the pain in our life not as things that stopped us from growing, but as the things that helped us grow the most? What if your Even Ma'asu Abonim was your Rosh Pinah? What if the thing that you're throwing away with therapy, with alcohol, with drugs, the thing you're trying so hard to forget from your past, to get over, to get around, was really for you to go through, to change because of it? And it's your foundation stone. And everything that you build, if you don't build with it, is weaker because you did not include it in the materials that you were using to build the foundation of what you could become. This is a foundational moment for the state of Israel, for Am Yisrael. It's a foundational moment on a security level. It's a foundational moment on a state level, understanding what it means to live side by side with people who only want you dead. And to understand that the narrative, that we can include this and we can have them together, it's one government, and we can have all these kind of things. We're suddenly realizing, no. Not everyone that says that this is what they want to do. They gave every indication over the last 2 years that they did not want any war with Israel. That they did not want to enter into the fray. We're not getting involved. We don't want to war. We're not getting involved. That was a years-long ploy to make Israel think that they were not interested in a war with us. My friends, this is a foundational moment. We are learning from our mistakes. But most of all, there is a foundational growth opportunity here for Am Yisrael to understand that you could argue without division. And we must argue without division. And we must argue without hatred. Where are we now? Do religious people only save religious people? Do secular Jews only fight for their own kind? It's ridiculous. Everything has become erased, and it became erased literally in a matter of seconds. Seconds after the news broke. All of this thing, that there was no way, speak to political pundits, I don't know how we're going to get back from this. There's nothing to do. You can't heal the schism in Israeli society. You can't, the chasm is too wide. We can't put Am Yisrael back together. And how long did it take for Am Yisrael to come back together? 1 second. One headline. This is foundational, my friends. And I want to quote to you a line. There's a famous line that says, a wise man learns from other people's mistakes, but a fool will only learn from his own. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes, but a fool will only learn from his own. What we're seeing in Israel is a foundational lesson for Achdut. It's a foundational, it doesn't mean that you have to agree on everything or even on anything. But what we're learning over there is something that we need to apply over here and everywhere else. I saw a video yesterday, a beautiful film that was forwarded to me. So I don't go scrolling. From a man whose name is Ari. And he lives on a farm, right on the border. And Ari's name is who he is, a lion. And he's speaking in English, and he's right there at the front. And he says, family members are asking, why are you there? Why don't you leave? Why don't you move to a place safety, this, that, why don't you? And he says, I don't think you understand. If we leave this place, who's behind us? Another village where almost all the men are in military service. So who's in that village? Women and children. So you want us to leave. So who's on the front if we leave? They're on the front. Can we do that? And if they leave, who's on the front? The village behind them. And if they leave, who's on the front? Until eventually, Jerusalem is the front. Eventually, Tel Aviv is the front. Eventually, Haifa, all the centers of Israel are on the front. But then he said something far more profound. It doesn't end there. Because who's on the front after that? The Jews of New York. The Jews of Paris, who I think are already on the front and have been for a long time. The Jews of South America. The Jews of Europe. The fight keeps. It keeps. And in the same way that that's true in a physical sense, it is true, my friends, in a mitzvah and a ruchaniyut sense. what division looks like over there on the street with signs is a little bit less overt over here, but it exists. So they're on the front lines. But where are we? The front line of this war, it's being taken everywhere. So what are we doing for this? When we faced an existential threat once on Purim, Esther said the immortal words, Lech kenos et kol haYehudim. Go gather the Jews together. Esther understood the mandate of the day. Lech kenos et kol haYehudim. Go gather the Jews together. She understood that that was the way to fight this. My friends, that is our mandate also today. Lech kenos et kol haYehudim. Aside from the phone calls that you make for Israel today, aside from the gossip that you made, that you're using about another video you scrolled to, someone sends you something, maybe you watch it. Yeah, we all have that one friend that always sends us things that we don't need to see. Call the guy. Tell him, this relationship is not working for me. No, you could send me puppy videos. Or those annoying little GIFs of Shabbat Shalom and then flowers appearing. I feel like those GIFs are distributed once you hit like a certain age. Like they send you loads for your family and friends. A glass filling up with Kiddush wine. Revealing Chag Sameach. Let's go back to that, me and you. But my friends, make a phone call today. Not for any other purpose, but kenos et kol haYehudim. Find someone you lost touch with. How you doing? You know, it's a crazy time. I just wanted to reach out to someone. You know, I feel like we were close. We are close. We should spend more time together. Let's get together sometime soon. Find someone from your past that did you a favor, that you're grateful to. Give them a call. Share your love and appreciation for them. That's lech kenos et kol haYehudim. You know, there's different ways of being kenost. One way of being brought together is where everyone goes and stands in one place. But then there's another way where everyone puts their arms around and they squeeze. I don't know if you've ever been to the Kotel on the holidays, where everyone is standing there for Birkat Kohanim, and there's no space even to move. It's wall to wall to wall to wall, right? Jew. There's something special about that. I must tell you, and I'll end with this. The Gemara tells us that one of the miracles of Jerusalem was such that the temple expanded. That when everyone would come to the temple, Omdim Tzifufim, they would be standing and they would be cramped, crowded. Mishtachavim Revachim. But then when it came time to bow, Revachim, they had plenty of space. And that was a miracle of the temple, that it always had enough space for everyone that came. It expanded to be able to have enough space for everybody. And all the commentators asked the same question. If the temple courtyard is miraculously elastic, so why when they bowed was there enough room? And why when they stood was it tight? It should have been enough room when they were standing too. And there's different answers to this question. Beautiful answers. I want to share one with you today that I think is what we're talking about. Those are both beautiful things. That there's enough room for you to bow, but it's also beautiful to be omdim tzifufim, standing one to one, with not each person feeling, I need my space. You need to be this far away from me. The opposite. Connected, touched, kenost. My friends, that I think is the mission of the day. And it is a front that is open in every Jewish place, in every Jewish city, sometimes even in a Jewish family. Figure out how to cross the divide, figure out how to bring more connection, figure out how to bring more achdut. And that, my friends, will ultimately bring us the final Geulah, the redemption of all of our captives, the revivification of those that have passed away, Be'ezrat Hashem, with the coming of Mashiach Meherav Amenu. Amen.